Christopher Raush will have fought for what was right and what was fair. He will have risked for which that mattered, and he will have left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. So from that point forward, I had a mission. I had a vision that if I died tomorrow, what was the last thing I did? Did I make an impact? If this is the last thing I ever do with you, and this is what my family sees, they're gonna be like, oh my God, Chris was on point. He was fighting for what was right and what was fair. He was trying to make the world a better place. So what I have my coaching clients do is I have them write their eulogy, because most people are just going through life in just like kind of aimlessly. But when you write your eulogy, there's something to shoot for every single day. Am I living up to that legacy that I want to live? And that's the God's honest truth. Anything I do, I usually tell people, this is the last thing I do, blah, blah, blah. And then my son will see it, my family will see it, and they'll be proud of me. So definitely writing your eulogy.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at Humble Zone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. We want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around.
In this episode, we have an inspiring conversation with Christopher Raush. He takes us on a journey from being a 7th grade homeless dropout to becoming a motivational speaker with a master's degree. Christopher shares with us the difficulties he faced while living on the streets and how he overcame them to pursue his dreams. We also hear about his experience with our mutual friend Jason R. Hill's amazing software company, Owl App. Christopher talks about the importance of having a positive mindset and getting around the right people. Join us for an insightful and inspiring conversation with Christopher Raush.
Christopher, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
My pleasure, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation big time.
So Christopher and I met through our mutual friend, Jason R. Hill, who runs a really amazing software company. He launched this beautiful app called Owl App, where you can connect to other speakers, other motivational people in really decent way, because not only can you have your own profile, you can have owlets following you and they can pay you to pick your brain. And a lot of the time people are like, hey, can I pick your brain? And you're like, wait, I don't really have the time. Then you send them to the Owl App and like, okay, I can pay you $10, $20, $50, $60 for the 1 hour that I spend with you. And that way, it's more like a mutual beneficial happening. So it's really cool.
It is. I love it. And all the people I've met on there, including yourself, just amazing folks.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful. And it's bringing all us like-minded people together. And I think that's the best part around it. Mm-hmm. So let's take a walk through memory lane. I know we all have a ton of stories. We all been through a ton of different life-changing stories. And there's so many different things that we go through. And walk us through let's walk through your memory lane, how you came to be. We talked in the green room. You are a speaker and your wife is a singer, which is really awesome. Talk to me. How did you get started?
Yeah, that's a crazy question, man. I don't know if you would believe this, but sitting before you today is a former 7th grade homeless dropout who lived in the backseat of a station wagon with 18 cats and 4 dogs. Dropped out of the 7th grade, wound up coming home one day and found out that we got evicted. And from that point, my mother with various psychological disorders decided she was not going to give up her animals. So we packed 18 of the 30 cats that we had in the house into the family station wagon, a 1969 country station wagon, Ford Country station wagon with the wood paneling and everything. 4 adult dogs, myself, and whatever little luggage we could pack in there. We moved out of the house, and from that point onward, for 4 years, I lived on the streets, in abandoned vehicles, in garages, in motels, until one day I finally got to the point, after 2 suicide failed attempts. A guy put a gun to my head. I thought I was going to get my brains blown out because the guy thought I was racist. I'm like, dude, I'm nothing even close to racist. I love all people. He was trying to sell me a stolen carton of cigarettes. I said, I don't smoke that brand. And they were Marlboro Reds. And he thought because I was a white guy, I smoked Marlboro Reds. I'm like, actually, I smoke Cool menthols. And I went to go reach in my back pocket and I pull out the cigarettes. And as I reached in my back pocket, I had a 9mm put to my forehead. And he says, man, I just know you're racist. You just don't like me because I'm black. And I said, I don't care about that. And then finally I got to the point, Janae, where I was like, you know what? If you're going to pull the trigger, pull the effing trigger. I was ready. I was, after 2 suicide failed attempts, 4 years on the streets of struggling and everything else. I was just like, I was done. And the guy didn't pull the trigger. Unfortunately, somebody ran out and said, no, him and his mom are cool. Him and his mom are cool. And from that point forward, I was like, there's only a couple of ways I'm going to get out of this situation. I'm going to get out of this situation in a pine box. I'm going to get out of this situation in the back of a patrol car because I was doing bad things, or I'm going to decide to take responsibility for my life and have to leave this situation, leave my mom, and go out and actually truly live my life. So at 18 years old, 17, 18 years old, I went out and took a huge risk. I was a 7th grade dropout and I worked 3 jobs and then ultimately got around the right people. And long story short, I wound up going back and getting my GED at 18 years old. And this amazing man named Bill White said, Christopher Raush, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. And he said, what do you think about going to college? And I said, are you crazy? I grew up being bullied. I grew up being stupid. I grew up being told to be seen, not heard. I grew up with all these different negative self-evaluations about myself. Biggest one, that I was not smart. And so he's like, well, just give it a shot. And God is my witness, because I wanted to win his approval and go with his belief over mine. And continue dating his daughter, by the way. I walked up to Golden West College here in Southern California, and I walked through the door petrified because I'm like, they're going to tell me I can't go to college here. I'm too stupid. And I walked up and said, hi, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'd like to go to school here. And 3 hours later, I walked out with my first college class. 12 years later, I walked out and graduated with my master's degree in organizational management. The same year I bought my first house. That's my memory lane.
Oh my God. There's so much. That's a condensed version. Wow. I love it, man. Where's your book? Where can we pick it up?
I am currently writing it. I've got 156,000 words done of it. It's called It's Just You and Me, Kid. It's a story of a mother and son on the journey. And it's a personal development book. It's inspirational book. But yeah, it should be out the first part of next year, I'm hoping. It's been a pain in my butt. Writing your whole life story is like getting in the intricacies and the weeds of the stuff you went through. No, not a fan of it.
No, I mean, and you're literally walking down memory lane there, because you're remembering about all the crazy things that happened and what you did to overcome them. And sometimes just being so, I don't even know where to go from there, but
I love that when I do that to interviewers. They're like, okay, I didn't expect that. Some people know my backstory.
Yeah. No, that's really amazing what you came out with, and
thank you.
And shout out to your first mentor. Hey, give it a try, right? Just give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? You've already, tried to commit suicide. You had a gun pointed to your head. What's the worst that can happen from there? Really nothing. Really nothing.
It was more embarrassing than anything. I just thought they were going to tell me I was stupid and run along. And then ultimately, the rest of the story is played out. I mean, it was not easy at any stretch. I was learning challenged, but I just continued just to put myself one foot in front of the other, one class in front of the other. I just never stopped. And that's why I use the hashtag unstoppable, because if you really want to get rid of your excuses and become unstoppable, you just continue to take those steps. You just as uncomfortable and as scary and everything else, you just take that step and you get stronger and stronger. I actually have a tattoo on the front of my arm that says, what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. And I tattooed that back in 2016. Even after all that, Junaid, I still went through these peaks and these valleys, and I was going through a bad valley. And I always said, every day is a new day, and what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. So I went to the tattoo shop and I said, can you do me a favor and put that right here? And he's like, right there. And I said, right there. I said, I want to be reminded every day that through that growth and through that challenge, I become stronger. And so, it's right.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So you got evicted. You had 18 cats, 4 dogs, you and your mom, out living on the street for 4 years.
Yeah.
Then you made a decision to, no, I need to take responsibility, make this happen for myself, and really changed your entire trajectory of your life, where it was going to go.
Oh yeah.
Because you're right, we are the captains of our ship, the captains of our journey on where we're going to take. So thank you so much for sharing. And there's so much, like, I'm still ringing from, like, the different things that you had to go, even though it's a very condensed model, or we can still imagine. I'm like, whoa, this is really powerful. Christopher, what kept you coming back? And yes, you shared earlier, what kept you motivated? Yes, you went through the door scared. Are they going to send me back out? Or are they going to accept me? They accepted you. So now you've got one victory. I'm in.
Yeah.
Take us from there. How did you feel?
Every moment of every day, I had anxiety. I struggled with depression ever since I was a little kid. And God's honest truth, I just took it one day at a time. I took it 1 hour at a time. When you're homeless and you're living in the backseat of a station wagon, you're collecting cans and you're trying to survive, you're literally trying to get from 1 hour to the next hour. And so I've learned throughout my life that if you take it in those small bite-sized chunks, depending on where you're at in your journey, sometimes I take them a month at a time. Sometimes I take it 6 months at a time. Right now, I'm taking it a few hours at a time. God's honest truth, I quit taking my opioid pain medication 4 days ago. So I'm going through the detox process. And right now it's hour by hour. I've taken pain medication since I was 2006. I decided on Saturday, I don't want to take it anymore. I've taken it for probably the last 6 months. So I'm just going, I just make that decision. And when you go through those moments, I have a perspective, honestly, that when you're challenged and when you're scared, that's the place to go to, not to run from. So many times we want to run from what it is that scares us. And we want to go to that safe place. We want to stay in our comfort zone. So being that 18-year-old scared kid, the fortunate thing I had by my side was these people that believed in me more than I believed in myself. They didn't look at who I was, the long-haired, cigarette smoking, foul mouth guy. I was still polite and everything, but I was a train wreck. I was a party animal. I drank, I smoked pot. I did all these things. And here was this nice upper class family. I started dating their daughter when I first got my apartment with my friends. And here was this people that just brought me in and took me in and talked with me and didn't tell me what to do and gave me suggestions and ideas. I wanted to live up to the belief that he had in me, because if he could see it, then somehow I could see it. So just progressively, just day in and day out, changing jobs and just doing all the different things. I mean, I literally worked 2 jobs. I went to school. I went to the gym. I ultimately got married to that girl. It was just absolutely amazing. Ultimately got divorced, by the way. But it's just a matter of just deciding, what am I here for? Am I here to take it easy? Am I here to live up to everybody else's assumptions of me? No.
Yeah.
And this guy said, Christopher, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. And so I just hung on to that every single day that I continued to go on. And the most amazing experience of my life was to get that master's degree and to be able to say, wow, I literally was home. It's actually the best day of my life in that trajectory. Honestly, Junaid, this is the God's honest truth. I was at a Hooters. This sounds funny. I don't really go to Hooters, but a couple of my buddies, we hadn't seen each other in a long time. Like, let's go to Hooters. All right, whatever. And so go there, having a couple of drinks. And he says, Chris, what would make everything full circle for you? Just having this dynamic talk about life. And I said, you know what, and this is, I swear to God, I said, I would love to go back to the 7th grade, the Brookhurst Junior High School that I dropped out of, and go speak to the 7th and 8th grade class like I was, and let them know, man, you guys are going to go on this story. He goes, wait, where did you go to school? I'm not making this up. Out of all the places here in Southern California, and I said, Brookhurst Junior High. He goes, my wife is, I get chills every freaking time. He goes, my wife is a PE coach there. And I go, no way, how cool. And that's all I thought. Oh, no, how cool.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm going to go home and talk to her and see if she could talk. She's good friends with the principal.
Yeah.
A couple of days later, I get an email. He goes, you're in. He goes, they want to have you come talk. And so I went down there. I'd driven by the place because I'm nostalgic. I've driven by the place many times, but I never set foot on the campus again. And when I left, I was smoking pot. I was getting into fights. I completely changed. I went from being bullied all my life to being the bullier in 7th grade. I grew and I got bigger, and my attitude, my angst towards, all the bullying and the beatings that I got at home changed. And so I went in there, we filmed it. It's actually a video on my YouTube channel. It's like the 7th grade dropout returns home or something like that. Yeah. And I got to go speak to those kids. And through speaking to those kids afterwards, I was shocked. They all wanted to come up and give me a hug. They're like, "Hey, Chris, I'm in a foster home right now. Hey, Chris, I'm homeless living in a motel. Hey, Chris, I'm in Olive Crest Children's Foundation, which is a place that I mentor and I support at-risk kids." One after another. And I was just like, wow. And that's really when I started my speaking and my coaching career, because I had no idea you make money at it. I just helped people congruently. People would come talk to me and I would just help them solve their problems. And that was it.
Yeah.
And so from that point forward, it's just amazing. So you just got to have that resiliency.
Man, if you're not crying listening to that story, because I've got tears in my eyes, man. That was beautiful.
All right, first. Thank you.
Because no, like literally, like you dropped out of there because there's something, but now you're going back to, because you know that environment or that neighborhood or that place there's other people going through the same thing that you went through.
Oh, 100%.
How can you go back and support? And now that's what you're doing. So kudos to you, man. That is so powerful. And
thank you.
That just goes to show that anybody can make a decision to be who they want to do, to guide other people. And that's why it's so important to surround ourselves with people that empower us, people that believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. Because one thing that we don't do enough is believe in ourselves.
True.
Henry Ford says, if you think you can or you can't, you're absolutely right. And people might double take on that. I'm like, wait, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes.
Yeah. To be or not to be, you decide what that's going to be.
Yep.
My God.
I blew a mind. I love it.
You blew a mind. Blew a fuse. I need to go fetch, I need to go pick up a new fuse and replace that. But no, that's really powerful, inspirational. And
thank you.
I love it. So that's gets you motivated. You had people around you that's believing in you, and that's all we need, man. That's all we need. I posted a little video earlier today. It's like, all we really want is just another person believing in us, believing in what we already believe in ourselves, so that we can take the action and make it happen.
100%. I mean, that's why I'm such a successful coach, is that people come to me and they're like, if you can do it, Chris, and if you help these other people, all my business is word of mouth, is they just want somebody to know that they're in their corner. I'm like, no matter what you've been through, you can achieve this. I'll give you an example. Like there was this lady, normally my demographic is probably about 85% women, ages 30 to 50 roughly. But 2 years ago at the starting before the pandemic hit, this lady reached out to me. She saw one of my walk and talk videos where I just grab my phone, I just start talking. Something comes to my mind. It's just natural, raw, and unscripted like me. And I was talking about something. And at the end, every once in a while, I say, if you want a complimentary coaching session with me, by all means, hit my link. And I put the link in the live, whatever it was. And so she reached out and we got on video camera, and I was like, wow, she's an older lady. She was 69 years old. She had been widowed for 13 years. She wanted to get married again. She wanted to have a social life. She wanted to have a sex life. She wanted to be able to go to church, but all these different shame factors and everything else. And plus, I'm too old. And I said, no, you're not. I said, what would happen if with medical technology and everything today, you're 69? What if you live to be 120? Would you, if you just sat there and went, no, my life's over, I should probably just kick back, and you live to be 120, would you look back on this time and be thankful for that? She was like, no. And I said, I'm not saying you will, but you got to live every single day. Long story short, 2 years later, she worked with me for 2 years. She got married. She found a new church. She told the church, she never told anybody that she had been molested at 12 years old in the church. Finally she told me, and then she told her family, and then she told her new church. And then not only that, she got in front of her church and told the congregation about her story. And so it's just proof that when you decide to start living and taking responsibility for your life, there's never a too late time. You just got to go for it. And that was like one of my craziest experiences as a coach, being able to change somebody's life and just be a part of it, because I believed in her. I was like, I believe in you. You can do this. She's like, no, I can't. I said, yes, you can. I said, just go on with the power of my faith.
Yes, you can.
Now she's super happy.
Wow, Christopher. We've been scheduling and rescheduling this recording for a long time. And for better or worse, I mean, this has been a really excellent conversation thus far. And I know we're gonna build on this, because
I'm going to be guesting on your show pretty soon. We got to put the date in. But I've had nothing but deep regard and deep respect for you and for your, the mindset that you've built, the actions that you've taken. Just keep moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. I swear. I don't take that lightly.
And what's crazier than all of that is I grew up in Corona, California, which is
20
just
minutes that way.
Exactly. It's like 20 minutes from Riverside. In fact, when I first moved out to California, it was in Riverside. I can't remember the place. It was not Harupa County, but it was like Riverside County, like proper Riverside. And then we finally moved to then McKinley, where Riverside is, and then from there, then we moved to Corona. So a lot of my time spent in Riverside and Corona, and it's crazy that we get to meet. Like, this world is such a small place.
It is. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
When you told me that, I was like, that's trippy. So next time you come out, if you have time, we'll have to go have coffee or something.
Absolutely. We're going to go grab some coffee. All right. We've gone through your journey. We've gone through the motivation and inspiration that you've acquired. And the one thing keeps coming back to me: make a decision, like you said, surround yourself with people with positive mindset. And there's no such thing as too much positive mindset, because humans are negative or it's very easy to be negative. They've said that if you leave a glass of water out, it's going to attract all the negative, because water is positive. Mm-hmm. And as positive people, you're going to attract a lot of negative, which is the nature of life. So keep your company pure and clean, and keep supporting each other. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, Christopher's going to share 3 hacks to take away. So stick around. We'll be right back.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that will reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities.
Hey guys, welcome back. We've been speaking with Christopher Raush here. He is an amazing human being, a speaker. He's got his own show. He's been helping people all over to be their better selves, to take control of their lives. That story about the 69-year-old lady not believing in herself, and now 2 years later, she's married, she's going to a new church, she's telling the story that makes her unique. It's her own story. Nobody can take that. And that's the power of each one. That's the power that each one of us own, is that our stories are uniquely ours. All it takes is that you have to open up and share it with the world. So Christopher, thank you so much, man. I really enjoyed our conversation. Share with us 3 hacks to take away so that the person listening in the car right now while he's driving to work can immediately apply it in his life.
Well, that's a great question. I don't know about immediate. Actually, yeah, immediately they can apply it. I think one of the biggest things, Junaid, is for me, all my life I've been driven, and I've been driven by something. Like, okay, the biggest thing that was driving me was survival. Like when I graduated and got my master's degree and bought my first house, that was an amazing accomplishment. During that time, I was still drinking and I was still trying to figure stuff out. And I was still trying to figure out, okay, is it monetary? Is it egoic? How much more fame? I was doing really well in the corporate space, getting promotions like crazy. But then it was really crazy. In 2008, I went to this funeral and I sat in the back of the church and I saw them eulogizing one of my coworkers. And I thought, if I died tomorrow, who would come and what would they say? So one of my first hacks is go write your eulogy. Because what I did that afternoon, Junaid, is I sat there and I thought, okay, probably 10 or 15 people will show up. They'll bring Miller Genuine Draft, Jack Daniels, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue records, and they're going to talk about all the stupid stuff that Chris did. Remember that time Chris did this? Remember that time Chris did that? Remember that time Chris tastes this girl and blah, blah. Oh yeah, he was homeless and he changed people's lives. That was going to be the little addendum on it. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I went home and I wrote my eulogy. And at the crux of it, when I got done with it, I just wrote it by hand. I didn't have any expectations. When I got done, I went and got a glass of water, came back, and I read it out loud as though I was at church. It was crazy. And I got down through the part of it. And the part that stuck the most for me, honestly, was Christopher Raush will have fought for what was right and what was fair. He will have risked for which that mattered. And he will have left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. So from that point forward, I had a mission. I had a vision that if I died tomorrow, what was the last thing I did? Did I make an impact? This is the last thing I ever do with you, and this is what my family sees. They're going to be like, oh my God, Chris was on point. He was fighting for what was right and what was fair. He was trying to make the world a better place. So what I have my coaching clients do is I have them write their eulogy, because most people are just going through life in just like kind of aimlessly. But when you write your eulogy, there's something to shoot for every single day. Am I living up to that legacy that I want to live? And that's the God's honest truth. Anything I do, I usually tell people, this is the last thing I do, blah, blah, blah. Then my son will see it. My family will see it, and they'll be proud of me. So definitely writing your eulogy. Another hack I would say, and it's not really even a hack, I've studied successful people all my life, and everybody has a morning ritual. So one of my morning rituals is this: before my eyes open, I say what I'm grateful for. So I say, I'm grateful for my son sleeping in the next room. I'm grateful for my wife, grateful for a roof over my head, blah, blah, blah. And then I think of new things. And then before my eyes open, I say what my intentions are for the day. My intention is to be present and playful with my son. My intention is to use my words and my actions to make the world a better place, so on and so on and so forth. So the second hack would definitely be, start your morning off with something that really refreshes and renews you. Don't pick up your phone and look at your email and social media and the news. God forbid, don't look at the effing news. I mean, that's just mind blowing. If I look at the news, I can be depressed in like 2 seconds and think, why about it? So set, gratitude and intentions. And then as you're going through your day, if you're feeling funky, sit there and say, did I set the intention today to be mired in this depression or whatever it might be? No, I set the intention today to make the world a better place. Have I done that yet? No. Okay, let me do a post. Let me do a video. Let me call somebody. Let me text somebody. Let me do something that says I'm going to fulfill that intention. Because when you stay on track and you stay congruent, it's incredible what can show up for you. I would say the last one, and this is going to sound cliche, but embrace the suck. When things are sucking, so many people want to run away from that. Like I was saying before, they want to go back to their short-term comforts, smoking, drinking, sex, gambling, whatever it might be. But when you think about this, Junaid, you look back on your life, when have you grown the most? When things were easy or when things were challenging? Of course, when things were challenging. And in retrospect, can we look back now and go, hey, the lesson I learned from that divorce, hey, that lesson I learned from that job loss, hey, that lesson I learned from that fight, has that benefited me since? Did I learn something from that? Did I gain something from that? Answer, yes. Okay. If that's the case, instead of running from these challenges, what can I learn right now from this challenge? I don't like it. It sucks. I'm actually personally going through a couple of different challenges, but at the same time, I'm excited because I know on the other end of it, I'm going to look back and go, wow, I'm so glad I went through that. I don't want to go through it again, but now I'm armed with these other things that I can help other people with and continue that legacy. So I would definitely say those are my 3 hacks, and they work brilliantly for me. They work brilliantly for all my clients. And yeah.
Man, that is beautiful. I love that. Having an intention before you even wake up, before you even open your eyes, right? Because now you're setting up yourself for success. You're setting yourself up for success and people around you for success. And you're only going to have positive thoughts going onward. And yes, the news, the posts and stuff that we see all around us is going to turn us down. But then we have that intention that we did in the beginning of the, of the day, that's going to bring us back out. Man, I love that.
So true.
So true. All right, man. We had a lot of growth just happening.
in the past few minutes in this conversation. I love it. I loved all of it.
Thank you. Me
Have
too.
goosebumps, and it's really awesome to meet a fellow mindset geek and fellow positive thinker and fellow speaker. I mean, I'd like to be a speaker one day, and working on that piece, but absolutely has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Been a pleasure of mine as well. Excuse me.
Love it. Yeah, no worries. All right, we're going to jump into the 6 questions I like to ask, and let's see where we come. Number 1, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
The one hobby I wish I got into, probably motor racing. Yeah, car racing, go-kart racing, something to do with racing. When I was a kid, that was my thing, is racing and going fast.
I love it, man. I have been looking through YouTube, these electric go-karts, and some of these things are really fast. Oh my God.
Looks exciting.
It's so exciting. Oh my God. I
who knows? Maybe one day I'll do that with my son, and I'll fulfill I'll dream, and we'll be a father and son go-kart racing team. Who knows?
There's actually in Corona, I think there's a go-kart place, the indoor go-kart place.
Yep.
I mean, those things go like 45 miles an hour, but I want to drive the 90 mile an hour.
Oh, it's insane. You're 5 inches off the ground. Yeah, it's insane.
Exactly. All right, next up. What did you want to be when you were a child?
A rock star, musician. I love music. I was vaccinated by a phonograph needle. I was actually just typing about it in my book the other day. That's one of the pleasures of my childhood, is my mom loved music. So literally I would sit there and watch her put the records on. I'd watch them spin. I would look at the albums, and I just wanted nothing more to be on stage and rocking and rolling and playing music and impacting people. And I didn't really have the musical chops for it. I didn't, admittedly, I'm not pushed myself. Like, I have 10 guitars around my house, full size keyboard. But once I got on stage speaking and using my words, it was the same exact thing. I just wasn't playing music. I was just up there rocking the audience and seeing their expressions. Yeah. So ultimately I became that, but I still am fantasized with, being a rock star.
I love it. And
obviously you will get,
yeah, I can tell. I mean, you got the flaming guitar, you got an acoustic. Oh, they're both electric guitars. I don't even know the names, but they look pretty epic. All right,
S. Paul copy right there.
That's there.
And then I have an S. Paul. Then I have a tattoo on my arm. You probably can't see it, but
there you go. Okay, nice. I love it. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite movie, The Crow, with Brandon Lee. Hands down.
God.
I got a tattoo over here of that. I've got a tattoo of that over here.
That was a really good movie. That was a really good movie. I remember, and he's the son of Bruce Lee, and God bless him. I don't know what was going on with people not liking people, and having him assassinated or whatever. He was such a talented person, and I think that's similar thing happened with his son Brandon Lee.
Yeah, I actually met Ernie Hudson, the guy that was the Officer Albrecht. I met him at an event here in Los Angeles, and I get chills with this too. I had him in a conference room by myself, and I'm like, dude, I have to ask you, what was it like to be? We spent an hour talking about. I still get chills. I wish I could have recorded it. Yeah, he was just like, Brandon was such a beautiful person. I just love everything about that movie. I'm not into violence really that much. Yeah, but the justified violence. And then I saw the video, the VHS, and in the back of it, there's a video with him during the filming, and he says, you don't know how many more sunrises you're going to see. And it broke my heart to think how poetic this guy was and how much he looked forward to every single day. And that was killed during the making of this. It's stuck in my brain, and now I literally have a whole shoulder tattoo of it. It says it can't rain all the time.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch The Crow, because that was such a good movie.
And they're remaking it right now, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't believe in most of the times I don't like remakes, but
I don't like remakes sometimes.
We'll see what they do.
Well, next question is a really good one. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Oh, wow. What movie would I choose if I got to play a character in it? I'm gonna say Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yes.
Nick Cage. The driving work in that car. I mean, again, going back to the racing, every once in a while, I just want an adrenaline movie and just like a sheer, like, balls to the wall. Let's go.
Yeah.
Gone in 60 seconds. That looked like a blast.
Especially with Eleanor and, doing that chase. And she's like, I'm going to make it. Just jumps over the LA bridge.
Oh,
Yep.
that was beautiful. All right, next up.
That was a great question. I didn't expect that one.
Well, I like to keep that question in the bag.
Nice.
Next up, who is your favorite superhero?
Iron Man.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I would say it's Iron Man. I love it for how I'm just drawing a blank on the actor's name.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I love how his life went through the dumps and everything else. Less Than Zero was one of my favorite movies back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I love what he brought to the character, and I love the fact that the character is resourceful and ingenuity. Yeah, that one. So yeah, that's one of my favorites. My son, funny enough, I said, "What's your favorite character?" And he goes, "I think Thor, but I don't know. I think I like Iron." He calls him Iron Man. Iron Man, and I'm like, Iron Man. But go ahead and say it the way you got to say it. He's 5.
No, that's beautiful. No, I love his story arc as well, and the things that he brought to it. There was a BBC interview that he was Robert Downey Jr. was being interviewed, and it was kids asking questions to Robert Downey Jr. And one of the questions was like, "Do you pretend to be Iron Man when you're home?" And he said, that's a really good question, but when he was auditioning for the acting position for Robert Downey Jr. for Tony Stark, he in his mind pretended that he was already Tony Stark, and he did 3 takes, or he did several auditions in front of the mirror, pretending that he's already Tony Stark. So then the host was like, "So you methoded
Yep.
the acting and became who you wanted to be." It's really beautiful.
And that's a testimony to life too, is see yourself how you want to be and then go fulfill that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank
Just
you.
visioneering. I mean, it's literally the fact, like, you have had a bad dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you wake up, what happens? You feel like you went through that bad dream. Your heart's racing, you're sweating. You're like, oh my God, I was just free falling 75,000 feet or whatever into the abyss. You wake up, you don't know the difference between real reality and perceived reality. So the same thing works in your mind. If you manifest and you vision where it is that you want to be and how you see that happening, like I see applause from stadium fulls of people, I know that's going to materialize. You have to act as if, like you said before, it's just a matter of seeing it, believing it, embodying it, and then and then it happens.
Man, I love that. Whew. We're going to church today, guys.
Going to church. You're going to kick-ass, unstoppable, no excuses church.
That's right. That's right. All right. Next up is the last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Oh, wow. If I was a board game, what would I be? Probably Life. That was one of my favorite games growing up. I love the little spinny wheel, but I think it would have to be Life. I mean, it's just, there's different components. There's the ups and the downs. You succeed way ahead and you come back down. I think it would have to be Life. What would it be for you?
That. That's a good question. I've pondered a lot on this question because I ask other people, and it would have to be something like it would probably something around Life, a combination with Clue or Monopoly. I don't know. I might have to make a board game for myself. I'm like, hey, this is my board game. Maybe a Life edition of Hacks and Hobbies. I don't know.
There you go. That's perfect.
Something might be there. Dude, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, Christopher. Definitely long overdue. I really enjoyed everything and cannot wait to meet you when I'm out in SoCal next time around. In fact, we are going to Social Media Marketing World 2023. That happens in San Diego. I think it's going to be in March. So see if you can make it out there. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Cool.
We're going to be showcasing the GoBox studio over there. But where can my entrepreneurs, superpreneurs find you, Christopher?
Super simple. And man, Junaid, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a brilliant experience. I love the different types of questions and the way you structure the show. And I mean that. So thank you. I've been interviewed hundreds of times, if not thousands. And so I appreciate that. People can get a hold of me super easy. NoExcusesCoach.com. All my social media is there, my YouTube, my blog, my speaking, everything is right there. You can connect with me. I would love to hear from the listeners, the viewers of the show, what impacted you and anything I could do to help.
Man, I love that. Thank you so much again for your time. Till our next meetup, thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode on Hacks and Hobbies. We absolutely appreciate your contribution. You can find additional notes on hacksandhobbies.com. Please share the podcast with your friends and tell them what you learned about our guest today.